Okay, so where does this go next? This looking at graphs to establish limits and also the idea of one-sided limits. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we will eventually connect the idea of limits of unbounded functions. In other words, functions that at a particular value grow towards positive or negative infinity. We'll connect the limits of these functions with the idea of vertical asymptotes. One of the things calculus lets us do is it really lets us formally define some of the topics that have come up in algebra or geometry. One of those being vertical asymptotes. We'll use limit behavior and our limit notation to describe vertical asymptotes in a much more formal way than you maybe have in the past. We also are going to transition, and these one-sided limits are going to be really important for us. So we will look at one-sided limits numerically. In fact, that happens in the next topic where we look at limits as described from a table of values. And also we'll start evaluating limits analytically. And that's going to be something where we use some algebra techniques. And if we're good with our algebra, we actually come up with some very easy and efficient ways to evaluate these limits that are a lot easier than having to construct a graph or having to construct a table like we've been doing so far. And that's going to be really kind of the heart of Unit 1 early on, is how do we evaluate these limits algebraically? And so that's an idea of where this is headed next, using limits and the idea of one-sided limits.